and welcome to On the Kerbs. I'm your host, Timo Albers Daily. Joining me this week is 2018 British GT champion Jamie Falvey. We caught up recently to chat about his late entrance into the world of motorsport, what the biggest challenge of his motorsport career has been so far, what it's like to win a championship, and much more. I hope you enjoy our conversation. Hi Jamie, thank you for being here today. First of all, how are you?
Yeah, I'm good. Thanks, Timo. I'm good. How are you?
Yeah, not too bad, thank you. So, first thing I like to ask everyone who I talk to on here, what first got you into motorsport?
That's probably the best question out of all of them, really, and it's probably the most simple. Probably a little bit different to what many guys get into it. I didn't get into motorsport until I was past 30 years old.
You weren't lying.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I wasn't the usual 8-year-old kind of coming up through karting and which I love. I love karting, by the way. I used to live 20 minutes down the road from Paul Fletcher International, so I used to go watch the races there all the time. But no, I was a fan of motorsport in general, but I wouldn't say like a diehard fan or anything. I used to watch touring cars, Le Mans when it was on, Formula One, obviously, bits and pieces, and never really thought more of it than that, to be honest. And then I had a career in the military, and that ended quite abruptly, a little bit earlier than planned. And I came out and started my own business, and that business started doing quite well. And I always thought, well, I'd really love to have a crack at racing cars, and did a little bit of go-kart racing before that, but nothing really serious. And the business started doing
maybe the whole time.
Why not? Exactly that. Literally exactly that. And I knew a couple of guys that had done Caterham racing before, and I thought, well, in for a penny, in for a pound, or quite a bit more than a pound. Yeah. And kind of the rest is history, really, and just ran with it from there. Yeah.
I'd say quite not bad for something just to like, oh, I'll have a go at this and see what happens.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. It was a bit, to be honest, it was more of a surprise to me than it was to anyone else, Timo. We entered Caterham 270R and we won the championship in the first year. And I wasn't expecting that at all.
No, I mean, you think, well, maybe it'd be nice to do, but you don't believe for a second that maybe you'll go and start quite that high.
Yeah, literally exactly that. I mean, it was a bit of a strange situation because Caterham, I'm sure you know, Caterham have their ladder of motorsport, and it kind of starts, it goes Academy, Road Sport, 270R, which is like the middle rung, then 310R, and then the super lights, which I raced the year after 270. And initially, I tried to enter into the academy because I was like, well, I've never raced cars before, so that suits.
Oh yeah, makes sense.
Because but because I had karting experience, they said no, you'll have to enter Road Sport. So I bought a car, converted it to Road Sport spec, and they said, I know you can't enter Road Sport either. You've got to do 270R. So I was like, really? Like, what's going on here? Like,
why can't probably throwing you in the deep end a bit there?
Yeah, exactly. Well, those guys have been doing it for 2 years already. So I was like, geez, somebody's trying to do me over here. I entered it and had a fantastic time. Learned a lot from the guys that I was racing against, and won it in the first year. So it was great.
Now, say you were 2018 champion. What did it feel like, and how were you able to put that whole season together then?
Oh, it was. Do you know what? It was just one of those things where I just loved doing it. It was. I mean, last year was different. We had a sponsor on board for full time that was paying the bills, and they were an excellent. It was an excellent partnership, so it brought a different dynamic to going racing. But the first year in Caterham was just enjoyment, pure enjoyment, and I'm sure you've watched Caterham racing yourself, but nobody ever gets away at the front. It's all a slipstream battle. So, I mean, each of the races were half an hour long, 2 races, one on the Saturday, one on the Sunday.
Probably
and basically, big time. And then you just sit there basically for 20 minutes. And sometimes you could drop as low as 15th, 16th, and I'd sit there for like basically 20 minutes thinking all I've got to do is keep touch with the front, and then the race happens in the last 5-10 minutes. So it's really exciting, and it teaches good racecraft. But yeah, it was a really enjoyable year. Got quite a few pole
Was part of
positions.
it just the fact that you kind of didn't really have anything to lose and everything to gain by just so you could
Yeah,
afford to have that fun with it. There was no pressure as such. So
yeah, absolutely. It was just kind of screw it and have fun and just go as quickly as possible. And I got, I took it seriously. I didn't just kind of turn up to make up the numbers. I got coaching from a good guy who I learned a lot from, Ben Clucas, who's a professional race coach, still races himself as well. And he was fantastic. Learned a lot from him. And really just tried to, because I'm big on sports psychology. I've done a lot with kind of professional athletes, running my own gym as well. Kind of that's the kind of thing that kind of makes me tick. So I use that as a kind of a platform to practice what I preached, really. And yeah, it was good. It was good. Yeah. It was an enjoyable year. It's a fantastic year. Yeah.
I was going to say that kind of leads quite nicely into the next question there. So I was going to ask what kind of fitness training do you do to as a racing driver to prepare for this stuff?
It's many and varied, really. I mean, this is one of kind of leads into a separate subject, but you see a lot of drivers, and they get trained very well by companies like there's a mate of mine, Gus Burton, who I raced with last year. He's my teammate, hugely talented kid, likely to get picked up by a major manufacturer sooner or later. And he works with
in this as well.
Yeah. He's just a good guy. I get on very well with him. And the reason why I mention him is he worked with a company called APSM, Andy Prio Sports Management, and I was talking to him about the kind of training that he did, because they work with iZone driver performance, and I was kind of interested to learn, what kind of things they were doing, and because I've done a bit of research on it myself, and I know what the kind of top companies are doing, and it's, to be quite honest with you, a lot of it gets over-egged. It's a very, very simple sport to train for. There are a couple of specific things you need. So, like, obviously, if you're F1, LMP1 drivers, Formula 2, Formula 3, whatever, you need to put a big focus on core strength, neck strength, endurance capacity. But if you're anything lower than that, you can get away with having a fairly, I wouldn't say basic, you need to be fit, but yeah, exactly. But you can still get away with having a fairly, average to decent level of fitness, and still be very, very competitive. And that's where
you focus on specifically, like more cardio than strength, or is it just a
it's a bit of a combination, really. The main focus in fitness training in relation to motorsport is ensuring the mind's fit to go. So typically what tends to happen is, and I've experienced this in the military as well as sport as well, but typically what tends to happen is, if the body isn't up to standard, the mind focuses on the pain that the body is putting out there. So if your body isn't in the correct shape to kind of take the beating that you're giving it, your mind focuses on that. It doesn't focus on the job at hand. So your only real focus as a driver and as a motorsport athlete is to ensure that your body can take the number of laps, the number of hours, whatever it is that you're doing, without getting to the stage where it's interrupting your thought processes for the race ahead, because obviously you need to stay switched on for race strategies, overtaking, defending, whatever it is.
And so, like, say you could be down in 15, 16 with 10 minutes to go, and then all the opportunities come your way. You've got to be ready to capitalize on those.
Exactly. Yeah. Exactly that.
Don't want to run out of energy 10 minutes to go. That could
be. Yeah. No. It's a very good example. So it's very, very, very similar to that. And it's you can see it as well. The guys that do it very, very well. You can see obviously how physical the Formula One cars are nowadays. You can, if you have not even an educated opinion on it, but if you have an understanding of what driver fitness is, you can look at some of the drivers and understand the ones that drop off towards the end of the race and the ones that don't. So it's literally that simple. There's nothing complicated about it. This is what I used to say to people when I was training people. It's not complicated. It just requires a bit of hard work.
Yeah, you've got to turn up and do it consistently.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
So then you pretty much nailed the racing side of things from the get-go, from the sound of it. So then, what made you? Is that what made you want to become a driver coach, or was there some other kind of motivation behind that?
It kind of I kind of fell into it by accident, really.
Seems to be a pattern developing here slightly.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. I don't plan very well.
Works out all right. That's the main thing.
Yeah. It hasn't worked out too badly so far. Purely through my past experiences. So I was a master trainer in the gym that I used to own. I did a lot of sports performance training in that, and a lot of that was focused around the mental side as well. The crossovers between that and motorsport driver coaching are actually quite high. There's a lot of things that you can directly relate to with it. And last year, I don't actually think there's a lot of guys. And it sounds really arrogant. I hate talking about myself, but I don't think there's a lot of guys that have started after 30 years old and who've managed to land a title sponsor and gone racing at Ginetta Supercup pro class level and won races. And that was only my second full year in a championship. So I like to think I've got a good amount of experience of dragging the most out of a fairly short program, and using those experiences to deliver to other people. I think is key.
To maybe counterbalance, if you feel like you don't like talking about yourself, it's like if you can do it after that long,
literally exactly that. I don't say that to a lot of people. Like it's really funny actually, because you see, like, I get on really well with a lot of the young kids that I was racing with last year. I've probably got the mental age of quite a few years below them, but
sometimes that helps.
Exactly. But I got on really well with Adam, who's leading it this year. Gus as well from last year. And you see them come on TV and they're doing the whole kind of yes, I was I'm very confident. I meant to come second in that race, and they're doing the whole mental health thing, and or they're doing the whole mental processes thing, and it's fine. But for me, I'm not at that stage. I can be fairly honest, and I'm not the most talented driver on the grid. Realistically, Adam and Gus had the pace over me last year, but I know I work hard. And I know I race hard and I've got good racecraft. So I think at the stage of my life that I'm at, I know where my weaknesses are and I know where my strengths are. And in many ways, I think that's probably a positive rather than a negative.
Well, to be fair, you want that more as a fan watching that, though. You don't want every driver to say the exact same thing all the time. So if there is someone like you, just say that how it is, and just be honest about it. I didn't do great in that one. It's my bad.
Yeah, I was honest with it last year. My first race win in Supercup last year was a complete fluke. It was a complete fluke. There was a coming together, 3 into 1 didn't go, and I was the one that came out best out of it.
But the opportunity.
Yeah, absolutely. And you have to be there for the opportunity. And it wasn't like I was defending the entire race. I managed to clear off at the front, and then we did it again in race 2 to prove that it wasn't a fluke on
this one
on pace.
Wasn't a fluke.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly. But I think it's important. Integrity is important to me. So yeah, absolutely.
So then, what's a fun racing related story that you can tell us?
Fun racing story. Do you know what? It probably. I was very very lucky to get invited by a number of guys that I do coaching for now. Actually, Team Brit. Dave Player, the guy that runs that team, asked me to race their Aston Martin at the Aston Martin Festival race at Le Mans. So one of the support races. That was the first ever tin top race I ever did. His first ever race on slicks that I did as well. It was just an amazing experience, absolutely incredible experience. But we turned up there on, I think it was the Monday or the Tuesday, and the testing was on the Wednesday. So on the Tuesday night, my dad was there with me. On the Tuesday night, I turned around to my dad and said, I could really do with going around the track, and getting my headspace around it. And obviously they open it up. It's a public road, on the after the track hours. So we took a bike, a couple of bikes between us, and we cycled the route. And I pretty quickly forgot that it's 9 miles or something like that. And my old man is not in the fittest of conditions, so he
slept well that night then.
he's coughing his guts up, and we've only got to we've only got to Tete Rouge, and I'm just thinking this is going to be quite a long lap. So it's about an hour and a half
in the scenery and the surroundings to make sure.
Yeah, absolutely. So he's going around. He's like, whatever you do, don't stop because I'm not going to be able to get going again. But no, there's been quite a few stories, to be honest. I've probably lost count of now, but yeah, more good than bad, thankfully.
That's the main thing, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
You say, like you say, you were there to do it to enjoy yourself, and you seem to have managed that fairly well. So
yeah, it's good. Yeah.
So then, on the flip side of that, what's been the biggest challenge you've had to face in your motorsport career so
far? I would say starting so late. I made the choice that after, because Caterham's great, really enjoyed it, but I would say it's more club racing than it would be national level stuff. Yeah. So, and I wanted to accelerate my learning curve as quickly as possible. So we got into Ginetta Super Cup last year and it did well in certain circumstances, but we had a very bad couple of first rounds. We were running with the wrong team realistically, and we had to change to Century Motorsport halfway through the season, and that was probably the biggest challenge because those guys that I raced the first couple of rounds with were close personal friends at the time, and I just felt like they weren't delivering what was required. And silly little things like there were pins getting left in fire extinguishers and going out on track and bits and pieces like it just wasn't great. And I think the last thing, the phone call that one of the guys said to me on the phone when I said I was leaving was, well, it's not going to make you any quicker. And then cue a P2 at Alton Park. so came over the line, and I think I had a few expletives over the line.
That's fair enough, I reckon. That's a good way of proving them wrong.
Yeah, well, it was an enormously stressful time because we had the sponsor that was looking for results, and we didn't over-egg the results. We said, look, we're going to target a top 5 in the championship, and we're going to target podiums. But I mean, we were nowhere near podiums at the beginning of the year. The car was just didn't feel like the front was connected to the rear for the first couple of rounds, and then took it to Century Motorsport, and it was quite honestly a different car. It was enormously different.
Just got to stick with it and keep working at it and hope that it can change.
Yeah,
you can't ask any more of yourself if you're doing everything. Sometimes it's just like you say,
that was the thing, Timo. I felt like I was driving it well. I felt like I was driving as well as I'd ever driven. And when you just basically saw the front 4 leave you in the dust, and then you were sat defending for 5th, 6th, 7th place, you're like, okay, I'm not really sure this is all me here. Yeah, exactly. And that was a real challenge because I obviously you question yourself naturally, and you think, well, is it me? Is it me, or is it the car? Or is it maybe I'm just not really up to this standard?
Quite easy to overthink in that situation as well.
100%, absolutely. And I just thought, well, I've got to give the sponsor the maximum chance of success that I can, even if it costs me money to bridge the gap. We went to Century Motorsport, and even before we got to the track, the difference was immense. The car prep and the level of detail they went down to was just something else. It was a tough time, but well worth it in the end.
Worth it. Definitely, I'd say.
Yeah.
So then, are there any other forms of motorsport you'd like to try in the future?
Yes. I would love to have an attempt on the Pikes Peak hill climb. Obviously that's hill climb. I know it's still car racing and all the rest of it, but it's a different discipline. I don't know what it is, but it's just
something appealing.
Yeah, it's ticking away in the back of the head. So I've got the ambition of Le Mans as a bronze level because I started late, plus 34 years old. I get allocated that bronze category, which is really attractive to obviously going forward and doing a pro-am setup at Le Mans, because often it's decided on the bronze, it's not decided on the pros.
So you don't need much to talk you into doing that.
No, definitely not. So that's the main goal. But I've always wanted to have a crack at Pikes Peak and aim for a sub 10 minute time up the hill. or up the mountain. Just there's something about, putting it all on the line, on
different kind of
one.
challenge.
It is. It's one shot. You don't run the entire course over the weekend. You do it in sections, and then when on the day of the race or the day of the timed run, you've got to put it all together, which I think is unlike a lot of stuff in motorsport. So,
I think the closest thing you'd have to that would be a qualifying lap, but even then, you've still got more chances to do the whole circuit. It's not just go out and do it.
Absolutely. You have like one shot qualifying. I mean, they used to do that in Caterham Superlights, and it kind of worked and it kind of didn't, because Caterham's qualifying isn't really important. Every other qualifying session, I've done in other championships, even if you have a tyre that drops off. I mean, Ginetta Super Cup last year, you had a tyre that maybe gave you anywhere between 3 and 6 laps, and then it would drop off by about half a second. So even then, you still had a shot. If you messed up a lap, you still had a shot. That one shot style gives me goosebumps.
Few fun questions to finish off then, so something slightly different away from racing a bit. Do you have a favorite song or band?
Foo Fighters, Learn to Fly.
Straight away knew exactly what that was.
Yeah.
And then, would you rather swim in a pool full of Nutella or a pool full of maple syrup?
Jesus. Probably maple syrup. Probably maple syrup. Yeah.
And then finally, what's your dream car?
So many. So many. Do you know what? It's probably actually a fairly recent one. And it was the old Aston Martin GT3 V12 Vantage.
For that one, to be fair.
I think that thing is just an absolute beast. The noise, the straight line speed of it, and just the look of it. I just think it was awesome.
It is everything.
Yeah, you just can't go wrong with it. You just look at it, you think, yeah, race car, and then you hear it and you think, yeah, race car. It's awesome.
Perfect. Well, thank you for being here today, and best of luck with everything moving forward for the rest of the year.
Yeah, thanks very much, Timo. I appreciate your time.
It was fascinating to chat with Jamie. He's yet more proof that you can get into motorsport at any age with any experience, and you can find a way to make it work. Be sure to check him out online and keep an eye out for him in the future. I want to thank him again for coming onto the show and wish him the best of luck again with everything moving forward. Join me again soon when I'll be chatting to another famous face from the world of motorsport. And in the meantime, don't forget to like, comment and subscribe, and check out the other videos on the On The Kerbs YouTube channel. Away from YouTube, you can find me over on Drive Tribe, and feel free to follow me on Instagram at t.albers.daily.drivetribe. Thank you for listening, and I'll see you again next week for the next episode.